Hi, everybody, and welcome to the MariaGoncalvesPodcast. I am your host, Maria, and today we have a special guest. We have Shelly with us. So, welcome, Shelly.
Thank you for inviting me. It's lovely to be here.
So, Shelly, I forgot to ask, how do you pronounce your last name for our listeners?
You'll, You'll.
Shelley Youell. Perfect. Thank you. So I am going to read a little bit about Shelley so you guys get to know her. So Shelley Youell is a gifted artist and spiritualist medium from the east of England. Although she has been aware of spirit since childhood, Shelley grew up in a non-spiritualist family. I always find that interesting, people's backgrounds. Okay, so it was not until later in life that she began her journey into spirituality and mediumship. Shelley has been working professionally since 2010 and is very dedicated and passionate about her spiritual work. Shelley's passion for her spiritual work is evident in her dedication to serving spiritualist churches, centers, in the UK and overseas. Her services include teaching and demonstrating her evidential mediumship, spiritual philosophy, and spirit art. Shelley also offers private sittings online or in person, which can be either evidential readings, orograph readings, or spiritual assessments. So I'm going to ask you about that after. And Shelley is also a highly respected teacher and former established tutor at the Arthur Findlay College. As a teacher, Shelley is enthusiastic and encouraging, creating a nurturing environment where each individual can unfold in their unique mediumistic abilities. Shelley Youell is a spiritual medium and an artist offering she offers psychic mediumship readings as well as spiritual assessments. She is known for her accuracy and detailed evidence. She is also a respected spiritual artist, working with spirit to create unique and individual autographs. She also creates bespoke commissions of her art. What does bespoke mean?
Because they're unique to you. When I do the
Oh,
art, I connect with the spirit world and I'm inspired with the artwork, the creation of it. And there'll be information or evidence. Depends what type of um, painting I'm going to do, the intention, because it's
yeah.
always the intention, isn't it? What we set the intention with the spirit or to what we're going to be doing. So whether it's for healing or, for example, if it's an evidential, I would invite the loved ones of that person to come and join
Yeah.
me and inspire me with the art. Or if it's a spiritual assessment, it could be also then the guides, inspirers, the collective consciousness of minds that would work with me. I'm not gone into a deep state of trance, but I'm in that level of inspirational state
Yeah.
where they inspire me and influence me with the art. And then obviously I would have written or verbal information and evidence to back up with the art. So
Oh, wow. So I am curious because I want to start for at the beginning when you were a child. So how did spirit come to you as a child?
yeah, it's really interesting because at the time, obviously, you don't think anything of it, but
Yeah.
there was always I was always having these chats with what probably some adults at the time would have thought would have been imaginary friends.
Yeah.
They weren't. I didn't have it all the time, but I'd often spend time in my bed, in my own bedroom, playing or drawing because I did used to like doing art then. Not that I'm a contemporary artist or anything, but and I'd be and I'd had experiences um, I can't. I think I was around about the age of 8. Wasn't the very nice experience actually, but I got this. I was walking back from a friend's or wherever it was, because it's a long time ago, but we
Yeah.
won't go into that. That I got this sense that somebody was behind me, and obviously, as a child, you look, and there was a gentleman. Well, anybody walks down the street, so it doesn't mean anything. But I got
Yes.
a really unsettling feeling, and I felt guided to walk through the town a different way. Or words to that effect, because like I said, it is a long while ago. And
Yeah.
then I really got uncomfortable, and I went into what we call a paper shop, like a newsagent's
Yeah.
in the UK. And I went in there. I didn't want anything. I just went in there, and I remember looking out the window, and he was waiting for me, this gentleman. And I really was quite unnerved. And I do know to this day now, I don't know who, I just
Yeah.
know I was protected by the spirit world, or guided, shall we say, because then it was like words in my head was going, go to the police station. And where I lived then is a different
Yeah.
town. But so then I carried on from that shop, and he carried on following me. And then I went down to down the shop, down the road where the police station was, and I went to press the bell on the doorbell on the police station, and he disappeared. He went. And later on, if I'm correct, he got in trouble with the police for doing things like that with children.
Oh, wow.
So I can't exactly remember all, because again, it's a while ago. But yeah, and that was quite a profound experience. But I knew that I didn't at the time, but I did
Yeah.
afterwards. Because as a child, I was about 8. I don't think I was 10. I was about 8, 9. You know, you're innocent. You're just, being out and
Yeah.
about. Why have those feelings and those words that come into my mind? And that sticks with me. And that's one of the times that I've had quite a profound experience. There's been others, but I can't think of them all at the moment. But been
Yeah.
very just knowing. And oh, that was another interesting one I haven't said in any podcast, actually. I remember getting into bed like you
Yeah.
do on a school night, and laying there, and I was wide awake because I'd only just got into bed, and I was probably a little bit older. I'd say 10, 11, and this lady walked through out of my one wall and into my bedroom, and
Oh,
walked
wow.
walked out the other one. And of course, I knew I weren't dreaming because I'd just got into bed. And I'll never forget, the old Victorian, looks like a handkerchief on the head, where they had the
Yes.
cotton,
Yes. Yes.
and then she had the cotton long nightgown and a candle. And I can remember going, what's just happened there? And I remember and then actually getting scared and
Yeah.
ran into my brother's bedroom. And he's like, what's the matter? You look like you've seen a ghost. So, well, just down. It's like, it was bonkers when I look back. But I don't believe it was spirit, but I feel it was residual energy of the house we lived in. Because it goes back quite some years, the family
Yeah.
home. It was a farm before we had it many years ago. And
Wow.
so it was residual energy that obviously I tapped into clairvoyantly, psychically. I
Yeah.
don't feel it was the spirit world, but it was just uncanny, at the time. But it really did scare me as a child, I have to
Yeah.
say. And our house, we used to hear people walking up and down the stairs. You'd hear
Yeah.
that even my dad, that he was a believer, but they weren't spiritualists, or they believed there was something out there. But he, be woke in the night to the front door slamming. We had all sorts of things happened in that home, and even the dog sometimes would sit at the bottom of the stairs and growl. So
Yeah.
it's quite interesting, really. I don't believe it was all to do with spirit. I feel it was more to do with the energy of the place, the history of it, really. But yeah, all interesting.
That is interesting. And I love that our animals can see spirit and sense it and give us a heads up. I used to have a cat that would be in one corner of the house and growl at the corner every
Yeah.
single night, like clockwork. It was always the same time. And I'd be like, what's wrong with my cat? And then later on, finding out that uh, the person we had bought the house from, the husband had passed away. So we're thinking the cat must have seen his spirit every single night. I think that's so interesting. So as a kid, did you see spirit like clairvoyantly, or was it more a feeling, a sensing you just knew you weren't alone? Like, how does it work for our listeners that are listening in?
So I'm just having to think back. A lot of it was a feeling,
Yeah.
But there is times that I have seen spirit. I have, probably as I was getting a bit older, that I
Yeah.
would clairvoyantly see them. I mean, one particular time was I was waiting to meet a friend in a coffee shop in a shopping mall, you'll call it, but shopping centre.
Yeah.
And this coffee shop was at the top, so you could look down. It was all glass windows into the shopping centre. And I was drawn to this, to the attention of this gentleman right down the far end. I didn't need glasses then, whereas I now do. But and I remember him looking, and he had a white beard, but he had black eyebrows and he had a big hat on. And I was
Yeah.
like, that's unusual, because it was more Victorian-y looking. And he just stared, it felt like he was staring at me. And I just kept looking at him. I thought, how bizarre. And, it was quite a distance away. And then he started walking down one of the aisles and didn't stop looking at me. And I was
Yeah.
like getting a little bit uncomfortable with it, thinking, who is this strange man that keeps staring at me? And and as he come close, I was almost like this at the window looking. Well, I actually got up because he was like that at that point, staring at me. And I got to the other side and he'd gone, of the
Wow.
windows. He'd gone. Now, some may say, well, that's probably he's gone off somewhere else. But it was just bizarre, the feeling. I remember, the saying where they say the hairs on the back of your neck go. And it was
Yes.
like
Yes.
that feeling. And when I thought about it, he walked through around people, but nobody acknowledged him.
Yeah.
Because normally if you walk past somebody, somebody might say morning or afternoon or look at you or acknowledge you. Nobody acknowledged him, like he wasn't there. And
Wow.
that was quite an experience. And I was quite young then. I wasn't a child. I was a young adult. I'd say early 20s with that
Oh, wow.
experience. Yeah, that was quite an experience.
That is an experience. So, have you found your mediumship has changed since then?
Oh yes. But I
Yeah.
have I would like to think I have a lot better understanding of it as well. It's
Yeah.
very spontaneous. I mean, it is spontaneous, but it was very spontaneous then because I wasn't really aware. It's took me years I always believed in the spirit world, always
Yeah.
knew there was an afterlife, knew from childhood, didn't know why, just knew.
Yeah.
But it took me many years to believe I was actually a medium, which sounds crazy now, which makes
Yeah.
me laugh because I think, but you've had all these experiences, you've seen spirit, you've heard spirit, you've sensed them, and all these experiences, but you didn't believe I was a medium. So I do laugh at that now. So, but I think a mediumship should change.
Yeah.
Um, because that's the natural evolution of the soul and progression, like with
Yeah.
anything. So, if you ask me in 10 years how I feel about it again, I would say, oh, yeah, it's changed again. It's maybe more refined. Who knows if it changes? I think that's natural, isn't it?
Oh, I agree. I absolutely agree. And I think change is good. Change is good. So, for those of you that are interested in learning with Shelly, she has a lot of different events coming up in different languages. Just go over to her website and check out all of her different events, which I love because you have it in Italian. So, I think that's fantastic that that opportunity is there for those that want to explore it but feel like the language is a barrier. It's not. So thank you, Shelley. So I am curious, spirit art, because you do spirit art. How does that work?
Well, I won't go too long into the story, but the interesting journey of it. When I was at school, I used to like doing art.
Yeah,
When I concentrated, I could copy a picture and draw to a degree. And
yeah,
and I know the art teacher tried to encourage me to do more classes after school. Well, teenager, you know what it's like. You don't always stick to that. And then I went off that, and I never did any extra training on art or anything. And I knew I was creative in that aspect, if I focused. but
Yeah.
life takes where it is. And my background's hairdressing, so that's creative. With doing that sort of thing, and makeup consultant and so on. But yeah, anyway, let's skip over. And then when I started embracing that I'm a medium and developing, then I started to feel like I needed to start to draw.
Yeah.
And I had no idea how the two was going to come together. I remember having a spiritual assessment at the college, the Arthur Findlay College, years ago, from a tutor, and they said about doing art, mediumship, and bring the two together.
Yeah.
And there was much more, but it's on that concept. And it was interesting because I'd thought about it, but I didn't quite know how it was going to work.
Yeah.
And anyway, this one day I'd had this conversation with a family member, which is a bit strange, shall we say, which can happen, can't it, occasionally? So I got off the phone and I was like, I need to express my emotions. So my daughter was at her dad's and I was home alone. So I went, oh, my daughter's got some painting set, like acrylics and board and things. Dig them out 'cause she hadn't used them. And obviously I'd replace them for her. And I just started to paint. And I
Yeah.
realized how much of an impact that had. And this is nothing to do with the spirit world. This is the therapy, the healing, the expression that sometimes we can't always find the words for, but we can express through color. And
Yeah.
and that I called the emotional flame. And
Mm.
that was the start of the journey with art. And it was and I didn't know of art therapy and all of that then, but
Yeah.
obviously there is all that out. And of course that, I experienced it for myself to the expression. So then I thought I'm going to start connecting with the spirit world and I'm going to see what comes, what I'm going to do with art. And then I get really quite frustrated. I was either doing pencil or acrylic with brush. And then I just kept getting put the brush down. And some who know me have heard this story, put the brush down. And like a
Yeah.
petulant child, I put the brush down and went, so now what am I going to use then? Because I think you got to have something, a spatula, a sponge, or a brush, or. And then I started working with my fingers. And what I would do, if anybody is interested in this, if they're wanting to explore it themselves, is I create space where I could, and I would sit in the power of the spirit, link with them with all my art materials ready. And then I gently open my eyes while I'm still in that prayer and presence and just see what came. And my eyes were open, but you are in an altered state. Obviously, all mediumship is, and I just see, and I'll be like afterwards going, oh wow, because I did these fairies, and they were so raw looking, really, because it's all done with my fingers. But you could see faces sort of coming in them, and all of this, and it really fascinated me. That was me hooked then, and that's where it started really. And I realised some years later why I had to put the brush down, because I am such a perfectionist,
Yeah.
and I'm the worst self-critic ever. By and I know I am, and I admit it. I like to think I've got a lot better, but it's still there within me because it's who I am.
Yeah.
That by doing it with my fingers, I couldn't be a perfectionist, and that gives them more influence on me with the creation. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. So I am curious because I know people are thinking this question. Are you totally removed or are you aware of what you're doing?
That's an interesting one because there's times that I'm very aware, like you do with your active mental mediumship, I'm very aware,
Yeah.
but there's times within it that I'm not. I remember it's not happened a lot, but then I haven't had the opportunity to do it too much lately, where I've been doing a painting and I've lost an hour.
Yeah.
And I'm there, I'm present, and my eyes are open, but I wasn't really aware. Does that make sense? It was like,
Absolutely.
so it's almost like I'd moved into I suppose, a more deep altered state. And then I was aware again and I needed what I call a round robin. I needed the
Yeah.
toilet, a comfort break, and I needed another drink. So I'd do that. And then I'd come back and I went, wow, did I just do that? And it's an hour gone, you know?
Wow.
So there is times that has moved me into that. And that's with the eyes open, which I find very interesting,
Yeah.
but then there's times, for example, like we talked about autographs, but I don't always do it as an autograph. But I could do a spiritual assessment, for example, with art, and I talk as I do it. So I'm very alert, like you do
Yeah.
when you do an assessment or an evidential. But as I'm talking and I'm drawing, I'm not really. The two come together. If anybody wants to do art with mediumship, don't put them as separate, complement each other. Because if you put them
Wow.
separate, it's like multitasking. And then you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I've got to focus on that, then that. Whereas the two, when you combine the two together, and it's evidential between the two. And
Yeah.
sometimes you're drawing something that you don't realize how evidential it is, but the
Yeah.
recipient does. Yeah, it's fascinating. It never bores me. Love it.
I find
So,
it fascinating that you do art with everything. I've never heard of a spiritual assessment with art. That sounds so fascinating. Now I want one.
but again, there's times that I do it where I've done a spirit guide portrait and assessment in that sitting and in that drawing. And what's been interesting with those is that it's merged. Sometimes I've done two
Yeah.
influences in the picture, or it started off as one and it's moved into others.
Yeah.
And what I always say when I work with doing anything to do with spirit guides or influences, and I know there's lots of different people have opinions on them, is that I always ask for something that's evidential, that will resonate with the person I'm doing the sitting for. Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, unless they've had experience of those particular spirit influences, you could tell them anything and it wouldn't be evidential. And it
Yeah.
fascinates me what comes up and the evidence that comes. And I go, oh yeah, yeah, I know them. Yeah, they've been with me
Wow.
since childhood, or their name, or And interesting you talk about with the assessments. I procrastinated spirit portraits. One is because I'm not
Wow.
a contemporary artist and I'm not a portrait artist.
Yeah.
And we, for the listeners, we always think we're never good enough, but you got to
True.
start
True.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Same with all development, all ability, you've got to start somewhere, you
Yeah.
know. And what inspired me many years ago is that I remember seeing on Facebook, which is lots more on there now, this gentleman, he held two pictures up. One was clearly where he'd drawn a human eye. You could see
Yeah.
it was quite raw, I suppose, very simple, but you could see it was an eye. The other one I thought was a photograph, and it wasn't. And it took him 13 years from that to that. And I
Wow.
think, that's dedication. That's why I always say to people, everybody has that creative spark. It's whether they choose to embrace it. And you've got to start somewhere. Same with
Yeah.
all our development, isn't it? Some
Yes.
people have a more natural ability within it.
Yeah.
Some people, like, I know that if I focused as a growing up, I could draw.
Yeah.
So I know that's naturally within me. But I would say I believe there's a natural artist in anybody. It's whether you
Wow.
dedicate and focus your time to do it. You know.
I find that fascinating. When I was younger in high school, I took a lot of art classes and I loved drawing faces. That was my favorite thing. And I think my last art teacher, because it was forced, it was no longer fun. And then I never drew again. I never drew. And I was pretty good at it. I was really good. And then it was like, you have to draw another face. You have to. And it's like, oh, then it became you have to instead of I wanted to. But I find that super interesting that you said there's like an artist in all of us. Just give ourselves a try. Who knows? Maybe I'll go draw faces once again when I feel drawn to do. But I love that you do that. So I am curious, were you trained or is this just all natural for you?
That's an interesting question. It's interesting because when I embraced, okay, let's see where the art's going to take me with this. I was looking at doing courses, but it never happened. It
Yeah.
never seemed to come about, or something had happened that I couldn't make it, so I didn't book it. And then I just knew that Spirit are going to be my teachers. And they have been my teachers. And that's not discrediting any spirit artists, because I know some wonderful tutors that do fabulous work. But
Yeah.
for me, I've been spirit led with the exercises that I do that change all the time.
Yeah.
It's all been spirit led. So, you know,
So I'm curious, what is the difference between spirit art and autographs?
right. Well, the autographs is coined by a pioneer of ours that it's Harold Sharp. That's
Yeah.
where they've come from. And it used to be symbolic art. And then he coined it the phrase aurograph, meaning it represents the aura of the sitter, basically.
Okay.
All right. And he was influenced, it was automatic art actually, because he was influenced by his guide Chan Shi. So he would be, say, talking, for example, I'm talking to you, but he would
Yeah.
have pen, in paper, and he'd be doing it, but he wouldn't be looking at it, and it would be created very quickly. And
Yeah.
and if I'm correct, it started off with the colour. Well, they used to start off, I think, just in ink, but they would be like colour, and then there would be the ink illustrations on there. He's done loads of them, and go online, you can see.
Yeah.
And through the inspiration of Chan Shi, they would do like a psychic reading
Oh,
about the
wow.
person and their life. And in the aura, you've got, the etheric body. So you've got the physical, the mental, I'm not saying it in order, the emotional and the spiritual, you know.
Yeah.
So there's all those aspects of a person, and that's what he would do. But in the modern day autographs, and again, some will have other opinions, but my experience of them is that you can create an autograph for psychic reasons, but you could do it. It's down into intention. If you
Yeah.
set that intention, so I've done autographs that have represented the spirit person.
Yeah.
So all aspects of them and their life, what they want, and I've done that in an autograph. An autograph. How right back used to do them on a square bit of paper, but then it got known as in a circle or a oval, because
Oh,
again, because you would depict that as our aura. you
yeah.
know I'm one of these that don't like staying in the lines. I'm not one to be fitted in a box. It's the creative aspect of me, I think. So it's very rare that I personally will do an autograph in an exact circle. I will,
Yeah.
but then I've been known to do a tree on the outside of it that embraces that circle. But then that's me and my personality, but it will be evidential with what I'll be doing in the autograph. So
Yeah.
really now, in my opinion, you can do an autograph. I've done it on a psychic and a mediumistic. I've done it again as an assessment. It's down again. It's once you set that intention and you focus, and then you perceive, and then you create. Does that
Oh,
answer
wow.
your question?
I love listening to you because you're so passionate about it. So now I'm just curious, autographs, do they have to be done a certain way? Like, is it pencil, crayon, charcoal, paint? Like, does it matter or
In my opinion, no. I say
okay.
mine because I can only speak from me, because
Okay.
others, spirit artists, will probably have another opinion, which is
Yeah.
natural and healthy.
Yeah.
Um, this is interesting because when I started the journey with art, with mediumship, whichever way I did it, it was with acrylic. When I started
Oh,
caving in to, okay, I'll start doing portraits. I started them with doing my fingers with acrylic. Then I started
mm,
doing services, and I would do them with acrylic.
yeah.
But that got a little bit difficult because it's not easy, depending on the space you've got, taking paints and things. But again, I procrastinated because I never thought I was good enough to do them. But
Yeah.
you know how we get a little gentle nudge and keep getting pushed in that direction. So in the end, I succumbed to working with pastels.
Yeah.
I love what you can see my easels there. There's an acrylic on there now with a dragon on actually. But
Wow.
you know, for when I do sit-ins, I personally work with pastels because they're tactile, they're quick.
Yeah.
You know, I've learned that I can't be a perfectionist. You know, you got 30, 40 minutes to do it. I mean, I'd like it to a decent standard,
Yeah.
but you know, whereas again, if you're going to do painting, acrylic spray, you know, on a canvas, you're not going to do it in 30 minutes. You're going to need a lot
Yeah.
longer. And I have
Yeah.
done that in the past where I've sat with spirit and I've then, like I said, sat in the power and then created for somebody, a bestowed one. And I've actually recorded in the first 30 minutes of the evidence I'm receiving as I'm painting. So I haven't done that
Oh,
that
wow.
way for a while, but yeah, often now I type it or give a voice message. But yeah, so, but you see, I'll probably spend 2, 3 hours on a painting, whereas with pastels, it's quick. You can get it onto paper and do the creation and the color and the energy
Yeah.
quicker. So I think it's down to personal preference
Yeah.
because, you know, there's others I've seen that I think they use probably pencil or ink and then use watercolors, you know, but they may do the aurograph before they do the sitting. I
Yeah.
can't speak for somebody else because I don't know, but you
Yeah.
know, for me, I like to be in the energy and I like to do the art and the reading at the same time. So the pastels are quicker. I do
Oh, wow.
portraits now in demonstrating with charcoal, and I like them more because they're just in black and white. So, but that's where I am at the moment. Who knows what'll happen next? And it's
Yeah.
getting it on paper quickly. So I use all different materials. It depends what suits and what. But pastels, charcoal is the ones that I would do in a sitting because it's quicker.
Yeah. Oh, I love pastels. The
Yeah.
colors are just, they're beautiful. They're so beautiful. And the pastels, they feel nice on your hands, mind you. You do get
Messy.
colorful fingers, right? Yes. So I'm curious, do you do like when you do demonstrations, do you also do spirit art or no?
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I was out demonstrating last night and there was no art involved. I love doing it
Okay.
either way, to be fair. I love to be the demonstrating medium on my own, demonstrating like that, or I'll do it with art. Sometimes I'll do the demonstration, spirit art demonstration, I'll do it on my own, or I've done it where I've got another medium that works with me as I do the art. So I don't mind either way. But again, that's how I am. That's my
Yeah.
nature is flexibility, diversity, and I like that. So I'm happy to work with or without the art.
So for those that want to get into art and want to do spirit art and want to be creative like you, any words of wisdom for them? Like, I don't know, any advice for people that want to do what you do, but they don't know what step one or step two should be? What would you suggest?
Well, like I said earlier, is about if you want to do it with spirit, is to
Yeah.
sit in the power of the spirit, meaning just in case any listeners don't understand, it's like sitting in a meditative state, like a meditation, but it's more active. Meditation is very passive and very much calms. But this is where we invite the spirit world. So we move our awareness to the energy and the power and the presence of the spirit,
Yeah.
just putting it in short, and then allowing them to influence us. You know, sometimes what I would get is just get a color. I have to start with a color. Don't know where it's going. I don't
Yeah.
see, by the way, when I do portraits, I don't see the communicator. I know why, because I'm too much perfectionist and I don't think my spirit portraits are good enough. And I shouldn't say that because people have given me evidence and photographs to back up the photographs. But I'm not, I don't want to get complacent anyway,
Yeah.
because, you know, that's when we become stagnant. And we're always evolving. But yes, so even just down to what I said about when I did the emotional flame is just giving yourself time,
Yeah.
create a space, Nobody needs to be involved, just you. And
Yeah.
just express. I always say, bring the inner child out. You know, it don't have to always involve the spirit world initially, but allow your self-expression onto paper and being
Yeah.
aware of how certain colours make you feel and how they
Yeah.
do they release. Do you feel that using that colour you didn't like? Why didn't you? You know, it's a bit like the therapy aspect of that. But
Yeah.
but it's a tool to understanding. Some people just inspired writing, which is creative. It's not just story, because that's just
Yeah.
as powerful. And they just allow the words to flow because they want to express from the soul. We do that with art, and
Yeah.
nobody needs to judge that art. That's the thing,
True.
because somewhere in everybody's life, or many people's lives, they've been told they can't draw, or they've had an experience where they've told them they're not creative or not good enough, and that sticks. And then
Yeah.
it's like holds you back. If anybody, any ability, if you was told that you're no good at it, you're not going to do it anymore, are you?
True.
So, and then we always got this fear of judgment, because that's human nature. But you
Yeah.
just allow yourself that space. Nobody needs to go and say, oh, what do you think of this? You don't need that. It's your experience and your exploration of self, really, first. Self,
Yeah.
the soul, self development is very important within what we do anyway. And and it's self-expression and giving yourself the freedom of expression, to allow it. Again, nobody needs to judge it, and then see where it leads. And then, like I said earlier about sitting in the power and the presence of spirit, come join me,
Yeah.
inspire me with the art, and see what unfolds. You know,
Yeah.
and it's like anything. It's an ability. It's a progression, and see where it leads you. I mean, there's one lady, funny enough, in Canada some years ago. Um, she did my courses out there. I don't know if she still does. I've lost touch with her, actually, bless her. And she started doing soul art readings, and she gifted one to me, which was phenomenal. I've still got it. I'm curious actually to read it again. So she'd do, and it was all dots, and it was
Yeah.
all like some asymmetrical. It was fabulous. So it ignited that spark in her. Then she found her own uniqueness within it. So,
Yeah.
because obviously as a tutor, we give you inspiration and guidance, but at the end of the day, it's your stamp on it. You bringing it out
Yeah.
in your soul expression. Because if we're all the same, it'd be very boring.
It
We need to
would.
be,
It would.
yeah, and we need to be ourselves.
Yes.
Be natural within it. Don't anybody try and fit in a box.
I
You know,
agree.
and what I would say as well as it progresses and you feel that you're ready. Maybe ask friends, good, kind people, that could I practice on you? You know,
Yeah.
um, would you mind if I did a piece of artwork? You don't have to do it in front of them initially, just
Yeah.
practice. And then it builds, doesn't it, from there?
It does. I
So,
like that you said that. And I just want to say thank you for spending this time with us. It is so obvious that you are so passionate about art and people being creative. And most importantly, don't judge yourselves. Just be you and have fun with the art. Just so you guys know, you can find her on social media. She is on Facebook, she's on Instagram, and there is a website, ShelleyYouell.com. She has events coming up, so go check out her events. You actually have a spirit art event coming up too, which I think is so exciting. So I'm going to have all of those links up. So if you want to get in touch with Shelley and sign up for her courses coming up. You also offer, do you do mentorships too?
yes, yeah.
Okay, because I thought I saw that on your website. So if you guys want to study with Shelley, just go to her website again. It has been an absolute pleasure and delight meeting you. I'm excited about art again. Maybe I'll go buy some pastels and start drawing again. I love
Good.
it.
But the thing is, what I do want to say about with creativity, we are all creative one way or another because we are all part of creation.
Oh,
Mediumship is a creative power. We need
yes.
that creativity of the mind when we do our evidential mediumship, for example. So people
Yeah.
shy away from that word. And I just think we are creative. Every aspect of what we do is creative. The mind's creative, you know?
Yeah.
So just embrace and be you. That's what I always say, explore, see where it leads you.
I love that. Words to live by. Be you and explore. So I want to say thank you so much for your time. Thank you to our listeners and viewers for tuning in. Okay, goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.